Hi, you are watching Home Studio Insider with Viktor Novak. As promised, I want to speak about audio interfaces today. I will give you some tips and explain some tricks which will help you to find out most suitable audio interface for your tasks and your home studio. Just click like on this video so I will know that you still tuned, and let's start. First of all, I would like to explain some essential concepts of digital sound and its processing. In the past, I had luck and graduated as a radio electronics engineer, therefore I know theory of signal processing quite well. From time to time, I see really strange things professional sound engineers do at studios, and I believe it happens due to incomplete understanding of digital signal processing nature. Everything started from the sampling theorem by Nyquist, Shannon and Kotelnikov. They stated that any signal can be perfectly reconstructed from a sequence of samples if the sampling rate is twice greater than band limit of a signal. For example, most popular sample rate of past years, 44,100 Hz, is able to reconstruct signals with 22,050 Hz band limit. It's not so big, and this is why we can see high popularity of 48,000 Hz sampling rate nowadays. It can reconstruct signals up to 24,000 Hz and keep a lot of shine in the sound. I'm not sure that you will need higher sampling rates at your home studio. For sure, it will provide more accurate recordings and better mixing performance, but good audio interface which can operate at 96,000 or 192,000 Hz will be much more expensive, and home studio is about balance and about reasonability. I think better to have nice audio interface with 48,000 Hz instead an average one with higher rates, at least if you don't mind to spend a couple more additional grants. The next stage of processing, call it quantization. In a few words, it's a process of mapping a large set of input values to a countable smaller set. The round of error introduced by quantization is referred to as quantization error. Amount of levels which quantizer use for mapping your samples measured by bits 8, 16, 24 and even 32. These bits are length of binary codes. More bits means longer code and more variations, consequently more levels of quantization and lesser errors. For example, 24 bits analog to digital conversion is very popular nowadays, and it have about 17 million rounding values, which is 256 times more than 16 analog to digital conversion, but also 256 times less than 32 bits analog to digital conversion. So if you don't plan to record a symphonic orchestra at your home studio, the 24 bits analog to digital conversion will be pretty enough for you. There are two tricks how to minimize quantization error during your record session. First of all, not to ignore the usual recommendation about adjusting gain of input signal. Loudest sound in your recorded fragment need to be close to 0 decibel. This helps to use a full range of rounding values in your quantizer. By contrast, recorded sound which varies around -10 or -15 decibels will be quantized only with a part of rounding values and will already lose some dynamic range. The second trick is about to use a light analog compression before your analog to digital converters. It narrows down dynamic range of performance slightly and will help to decrease quantization error of quantizer. Such trick is quite good in recording of voice or acoustic instruments with a wide range of velocity. I'm sure you have realized that analog to digital and digital to analog conversions are the stages where our sound degrades exactly. We can't do anything with this, we just try to minimize amount of such conversions. For example, do not connect any additional equipment based on digital signal processing like FX processors to your audio interfaces via analog cables. Better to use digital one instead. For example, Sony Philips digital interface SPDIF. It helps to pass two conversions and minimize signal degradation. So we have come closer to audio interface channels. When you buy your audio interface, you need to plan before how many channels you will need. How many analog channels will it be unbalanced, or it doesn't matter? How many mono or stereo channels? How many digital input and digital output channels? So everything needs to be considered. For example, if you would like to record a real drama, probably you will need about 8 input channels and additional output pair for the monitoring. All of this can sound a bit scary, but it is simpler than it sounds.
Finally, we need to connect an audio interface to a computer. You can find 3 types of connections. Most fast and expensive is via separate PCI Express interface card. If latency is critical for you and you would like not to exceed 4 milliseconds, PCI Express is your choice. Next connection type is via Firewire interface. It's also quite fast and full duplex connection, suitable for audio interfaces with many inputs and outputs.
If your audio interface will have about 4 input and output channels, most likely it will use USB 2.0 connection to a computer, and latency will be about from 8 to 16 milliseconds, which is still quite comfortable delay for work. Also, must to say that connection cables are quite important part of the system. And if you would like to achieve smaller latency, you can specify smaller buffer size in your audio interface. For example, 64 samples. But in this case, transfer errors can raise significantly, and it will sound like a lot of cracks in your sound.
In this case, connection cables from highly cleaned materials and gold-plated connectors will perform much better and will not be a reason for additional transfer errors. Also, ferrite beads can be a cause of errors as well, because they filter out high frequencies which can distort the packets at high transfer rates. But this is a topic for a greater dispute and you need to test it out by yourself.
As you can see, I am not talking about what exactly audio interface you need to buy, and I don't want to participate at any holy wars about which one is better. You must decide by yourself what will be better for you based on your budget and on tasks need to be solved. But if your music based on the guitars,
I would recommend to take a look to digital preamp solutions like XFX2 by Fractal Audio or 11 Reg by Avid. Beside preamps and effects, such devices have quite nice AD converters and can work like a full functional audio interface, just with a bit limited amount of input and output channels.
The goal of today's episode is to provide to you systematic knowledge which will help you to work with more complex information in future. Anyway, if you will have any questions or you will need any additional information, please don't hesitate to ask me and write down the comment to this video, and I will answer to you as soon as possible. At the next episode I will explain to you what software you will need for your home studio and how to work with it in a most effective and professional way. So subscribe to the channel and stay tuned.
Ho ho ho! Happy New Year! And looking forward to your music. See you.